You know that feeling, right? Where you do amazing work, you come up with a brilliant idea, and somehow it just puts you on the wrong side of your boss. Ever felt like you were actually being punished for being too good? Well, today we're going to dive into a law from Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power that explains exactly why that happens. And trust me, this is law number 1 for a reason. It might just save your career.
So, what is this all-important law? It's actually pretty simple on the surface. Never outshine the master. Now, hold on. This doesn't mean you should just, hide your talents or play dumb. Not at all. It's about strategy. It's about making the people above you feel brilliant, totally secure, and yeah, even superior. Because if you get this one wrong, well, you're basically playing with fire. I mean, listen to that quote from Voltaire. From the top of the world to the absolute bottom, in one single evening. So what on earth could happen in just a few hours to cause that kind of catastrophic fall? To really get this law, we have to look at the tragic story of a guy who broke it in, well, probably the most spectacular way you can imagine. Okay, let's set the scene. We're rewinding the clock all the way back to 1661 in France. Meet Nicolas Fouquet. He's the finance minister for the young King Louis XIV. And look, Fouquet isn't just some bureaucrat. He's brilliant. He's indispensable. And in his mind, he's a total shoo-in for prime minister. All he thinks he needs to do is give the king one last dazzling show of his loyalty and his skill. So what's his big idea? He's going to throw the most unbelievable party Europe has ever seen to celebrate his brand new, magnificent chateau. But the real purpose, or so he thought, was to honor the king, who was the guest of honor. Fouquet basically wanted to show off his incredible taste, his powerful connections, all to prove, beyond a doubt, that he was the perfect guy for that prime minister job. And wow, what a party it was. I mean, don't even think of it as a party. This was a full-blown, overwhelming spectacle. Every single detail was more lavish than the last. We're talking a 7-course dinner with dishes nobody in France had ever tasted, a brand new play written by Molière, the most famous playwright in the country, and gardens so unbelievably grand they would literally go on to inspire the design of Versailles. The whole shebang. So by all accounts, the party was a massive success, right? The guests were absolutely floored, but while Fouquet was soaking it all in, basking in the glory, he was completely blind to what was really going on in the king's head. And then, the very next day, as he's leaving a council meeting, bam, he's arrested. And get this, he was charged with theft, a charge based almost entirely on the extravagance of his own party. The punishment? He would spend the next 20 years of his life in solitary confinement. 20, in the most isolated prison in all of France. Just gone. Okay, hold on. Let's really unpack this. A party gets a guy thrown into solitary for 2 decades? How does that even happen? The answer, you see, isn't in any law book. It's all about the psychology of power. Fouquet didn't commit a crime against the French treasury. He committed a crime against the king's ego. And that right there is the absolute core of Law 1. In your desire to please people, to impress them, it's so easy to accidentally make your superiors feel insecure. And you have to remember this. An insecure master is an extremely dangerous master. This is where it all clicks into place. King Louis XIV, he called himself the Sun King. I mean, he literally saw himself as the center of the French universe. And Fouquet, with this unbelievably magnificent party, had essentially created a rival sun, a spectacle so brilliant, so dazzling, that it actually made the king's own light look kind of dim in comparison. So, what did the king see when he looked at all this? He didn't see a loyal tribute. No. He saw a man with better taste than him, a man with more powerful friends, a man with a more magnificent home than his own. He didn't see a loyal subject trying to impress him. He saw a rival. A rival who had to be, well, eliminated. All right, so that's a pretty clear lesson in how to completely break this law. But what about following it? How do you apply it perfectly? For that, we're going to look at another story from around the same time featuring the one and only, the brilliant astronomer Galileo Galilei. Now, Galileo was a certified genius, no question. But here's the thing about being a genius in the 1600s. There weren't any research grants or university funding. You needed rich patrons. And for years, Galileo was just scraping by, giving little gifts to nobles here and there, just to keep the lights on and his work funded. He knew he needed a better, more permanent solution. And then it happens. In 1610, he makes one of the most important scientific discoveries of the era. He discovers the moons of Jupiter. Now, what does he do? Does he name them the Galilean moons? Nope. He pulls off an absolutely brilliant power move. He dedicates the entire discovery to the powerful Medici family, and he names the moons the Medicean stars. I mean, just think about the genius of this. He didn't just name them and call it a day. He actually explained that since these 4 new stars revolved around Jupiter, it was like cosmic proof of the Medici family's central importance and power. He didn't just share his discovery. He made them the heroes of the story. He made them the ones who were shining.
And the Medicis? They were absolutely ecstatic. Look, they weren't astronomers. They didn't discover anything. But Galileo made them look more brilliant and cosmically important than all of their rivals. And the result for him? A full-time, fully paid position as the official court philosopher and mathematician. A lifetime appointment, no more begging. One single, savvy move secured his entire career.
Okay, so we've got a king and a powerful Italian family. Pretty dramatic stuff. But how does any of this apply to us today, in a modern office instead of a royal court? Well, the crazy thing is, the human psychology behind it all is exactly the same.
Let's just put these two strategies side by side. It's so clear. You've got Fouquet, who made himself the star of the show, and it absolutely destroyed him. Then you have Galileo, who made his master the star, and he was rewarded beyond his wildest dreams. Totally different actions, but their fates were sealed by the very same law of power.
So what does this actually look like for you in the real world? In practice? Well, it means you give your boss public credit. When you have a great idea, maybe you frame it as just a little addition to something brilliant they once said. You could ask for their advice even when you secretly know the answer. Look, this is not about being a suck-up. It's about being a strategist. You're making your boss feel secure, which gives you the freedom you need to operate and ultimately to climb that ladder yourself. And you can't ever forget this fundamental truth. Your boss, your manager, your most important client, they might not be wearing a crown and sitting on a throne, but they have the exact same deep-seated human insecurities. They need to feel secure in their jobs and in their own intelligence. If you challenge that, even accidentally, you will pay the price. Now, there is a time when you might want to break this law. It's a reversal. Let's say your boss is weak, a falling star as Greene calls it. There's really no point in tying your own fate to theirs, right? In that one specific case, outshining them might actually speed up their fall and clear the path for you. But you have to be 100% certain they're already on their way down. Because if you get that timing wrong, you're just going to be the next Nicolas Fouquet. And all of this brings us to one final, really critical question. Law 1 basically forces you to make a choice. In your career, in your life, is it more strategic to be obviously, dazzlingly brilliant, or to be quietly, strategically indispensable? One path can easily lead to resentment and ruin. The other can lead to security and real power. So the question is, which path are you going to choose?